So Ibu Hesty, a few questions actually for you. Firstly, that was a good presentation because I think many of us may not be aware of how the digitalization is taking place. Like you saw the presentation earlier with Gati Shakti. Similar kind of initiatives are already happening in Indonesia as well. And I think adoption seems to be a problem because it's very new. But if you were to look at a 2-3 year horizon, you would find more and more people getting onto it, which will give you the outcomes that you need for that.
Yes.
So your own company has already started using all the digital tools within your company, as well as are you using all the digital tools being provided by the government?
Yes, we already used, like Chase 4.0 is very new, but Gateway already registered there. So if customers still having a problem, we can assist for sure. NLA platform, I think we are the one consolidator who already registered in the NLA platform.
Okay. And your last slide was interesting because you talked about how you can contribute to the India-Indonesia economic integration with logistics. What is the opportunity you see between India and Indonesia from your perspective of your business? How do you see it growing in the next few years? What are maybe the sectors that are going to drive growth?
Okay, India now the number one country with the highest population. Of course, there will be a rapid growth economic, a lot of industry there. So every Gateway is not involving is like in coal or minings and else, but we are penetrate on the maybe the supporting. So I see if anything industry, anything growth in India to Indonesia, logistics will be there.
Yeah. How do you differentiate between because I understand you're a consolidator, right? How is that different? Opportunity different? What you're offering is different from, let's say, other logistic players that maybe. Yes.
Okay. Because we not only handle the consolidator, the small management, but also we provide direct services. Now, vessel to Jakarta to India or India to Jakarta, we don't have direct. So the transit time is more there. But what we offer is, maybe we don't have direct vessel, but we can make direct consolidation. It can save you at least 7 days because it's not direct. Your shipment will be discharged in Singapore or Malaysia, and then rework again, put in the warehouse, and then ship back again, put in the new container to Indonesia or to India. So this is not only the transit time, but also the damage of the cargo, because a lot of processing there. But with direct service we offer, we believe that it will be help a lot. Now also we have our volume increasing to India, as well India to Indonesia as well. So our service is really, really helpful for us.
So there's going to be more room for players like you, which are doing consolidation logistics. You see that sector is going to grow a lot? Or
yes.
you see the direct is going to grow a lot?
It will be growth, but hopefully only Gateway do that.
Okay, so great. Actually, this opens out to understand what are your various options, because in logistics, the whole idea of having efficiency means that resources then get reallocated accordingly in a different way because everything is more efficient. And there are only 3 real benefits you need to look for. One is saving time.
Yes.
And second is saving cost and overall improvement in the quality.
Yeah.
So these are the 3 things to aspire for. And as we get more and more efficient, cost to come down, time has to come down. I think that's even more important because it impacts everything else. How much you're storing in your warehouses, how much product is moving through the system. All of this is impacted because of the time.
Yeah.
So I think time is one of the most important factors. Am I right?
Not 7 days, even 1 or 2 days delay, right? Your factory, your line will stop. It will affect to everything.
Yeah. And I would say reliability. How big is that a factor? Because sometimes you plan something and it turns out to be something else. So to have a reliable service, would that also be very important so that people are able to plan much better?
Yeah, of course. That's why we have a live booking as well, so we know what is the planning. So also usually to make a space is guaranteed there. We make a booking in advance with the shipping line because we need the vessel. So it guarantees that we will have stable spaces, and also we handle our own warehouse with the kind of many flexibility. If your cargo is very urgent but it will be finished in the midnight, you just tell us. yeah, we can handle because it's our own warehouse.
Okay.
Others cannot. You need to pay a very high overtime cost.
Okay, got it. So I'm going to come back to you, Ibu. Kamlesh, going on to you. What are the, you've been here I think 10 years, and if I'm not mistaken, you have had a fair amount of experience working in Indonesia. What would you say are the biggest opportunities you see in your line of work in the next few years? And how is that affected by the challenges that you're actually facing? What can you share about that?
So, India imports around 150-160 million tons of coal from Indonesia every year. The way I see it long term going forward is this will continue because in India we have the issue with transportation, logistics. We can our coal production capacity can go up, but the logistics, because the railways, one full rake of rail can handle only 3,000 tons, whereas one ship can handle 70 to 180,000 tons in one go. So while the northern part of India and mid part can be served, whereas the coastal part still will find this Indonesian coal competitive at their power plant. So that way this will continue to grow, not at a very high rate because India's coal production is also going up. And there is a trade imbalance, so then naturally there will be an effort from India to try to contain the import. But at whatever near 5 year, 10 year you can see, I don't think there will be any change in this particular trade.
What are the challenges that you face now which you feel should be sorted out over the next few years? Are you able to do exactly what you plan to do?
I think more or less stabilized. There are some ad hoc changes in rules which disturb for some time, but then this trade is more or less stabilized. So we don't see much problem going forward.
So in terms of opportunities in logistics, especially, I would say you must be dealing with a lot of logistics players, right? The companies. Are they mostly based here? Are they based in India? Or how does a company like yours decide?
Mostly the trade is with sea ships.
Yeah.
It's based in anywhere. So it's basically international business. All shipping lines, of course, Hong Kong and China, Singapore based business. But it's open to everybody.
Okay.
There's no restriction on any country to operate in this.
Okay. So I'm going to come to you, Abhilasha. So if I can, okay. So you're in the very interesting sector, which is paints, which I think you could almost say is that the market is tremendously large because of a country like Indonesia with a large population, with a lot of housing, etc. So what is the influence of logistics in your own business? Because I understand that you also interact with a lot of logistic organizations, and to a large extent you also have your own little bit of distribution going. So could you share a little bit about your journey, your experience of how it has been and how it is evolving now?
Yeah, sure. So logistics, like I was just saying, is a very crucial determinant for success, especially in a market like Indonesia, which is very cost sensitive. So to stay competitive in this market, which has got players in my industry when it comes to paints, we have international companies which have got manufacturing here. We've got a lot of Indonesian companies which have got pan-Indonesia presence, which has got strong manufacturing setup everywhere. So price sensitivity is high. Today, if I look at it, we divide our logistics into primary and secondary. Primary logistics is largely from our manufacturing to our distributors or to our depot or warehouse locations, and secondary is from the distributor or depots to the retail outlets, right? So roughly we spend about 5% to 7% in our primary logistics, depending on if it's with Java or outside of Java, and another 5% of our COGS goes in secondary logistics. So that's somewhere about 10 to 12% of our cost of goods sold, which is incurred in logistics alone. So every 2% saving there is going to make that difference in profitability for a company like us, and efficiencies over there is a crucial determinant for success.
So how would you compare this almost 10% cost to, let's say, other countries?
So if I compare it to India, actually I don't think it's a fair comparison because in India we have manufacturing across the country to take care of logistics costs, right? Because India is not much cheaper than Indonesia. If when it comes to domestic logistics, it's fairly along the same rate if we look at cost per liter or cost per ton as we call it. But there, that is mitigated by planning your manufacturing accordingly. But in a new market for us, we have to achieve scale before we are able to spread manufacturing. So that not being an option, cost and efficiencies in logistics become that room for success.
But still, is it a big multiplier?
So in India, if I look at it, yeah, we do not spend more than 5-6% on our entire logistics costs. So here, like I said, it's not
So
very
obviously,
big. Right now it's still a big jump.
Correct, but you do have manufacturing everywhere in India.
Yeah.
Because one of the things you want to save is logistics.
Absolutely.
Time, warehousing, etc. Faster to
Time to
market,
customer.
etc.
Yeah,
Time to
yeah.
customer. But if you were to fast forward 10-20 years, I'm sure there will be a similar kind of a playbook here as well.
Absolutely.
Because
Yes,
the main driver for you to make that decision would be logistics cost. So I would say that logistics plays a role even in how you are planning your economic footprint across the country.
Yeah, and our manufacturing footprint. Because today, if we, like I was telling, in India, the reason why our supply chain is renowned is because we have a turnaround time of 4 hours. So any order from the time of receipt, from the minute of receipt to the minute that it reaches the doorstep of the customer is 4 hours,
4 hours.
pan India, right? So, and we are the only ones to do so. Here, if it's a shipment outside of Java, it takes me 2 days to get a container to get space into the next shipping line, right? So that's the kind of difference that we're seeing right now. And while like I was just hearing them, and I'm the US to Indonesia comparatively, I've just spent a little over 2 years here. But even in the 2 years, I've seen a lot of transformation happening. So the pace of change of industry is truly phenomenal. So if that keeps up, I don't think we'll be too far away in being able to achieve those kinds of promises in Indonesia as well.
Because I did remember having a chat earlier where you said actually the demand, local demand here is tremendously large. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Hesty now. Hesty, you mentioned earlier that one of the things you feel was important for us to focus on logistics is cost.
Yes.
And you mentioned that also in the context of how the economy, global economy is today. And I think you could say that Indonesia is far more resilient than many other economies in ASEAN or around the world because of the large diversity of the economy. India is in a very similar situation as well. We are, I think Ambassador mentioned a word that both the countries are shock absorbers.
Yeah.
They are able to absorb various kinds of shocks to the economy, and a far more resilient would automatically give you a lot of things to work with, for example, cost. And could you give us a little bit of an idea of what are the measures you're doing in order to save cost in this whole process? What are you, I'm not saying what you've done so far, but what are the things you're planning to do so that cost would become something that is very manageable at your end?
Okay. One thing is we have a platform for under E, all is EDO, all is invoice, so it costs you documentation.
Yeah.
You know, export and import is a lot of documentation. So every documentation you need to pay. So with everything electronic that implemented in our office, we will have more implementation. Now it's only e-invoice and EDO, but we will implement e-house bill. House bill is costly around $10 per house bill. So if you register under our online booking, you can create on house bill and everything, and no need for you to pay the house bill. So you just can multiply, right? And with the JSA 4.0, also when you registered already in JSA 4.0, you can create your import submission as well, export submission. So there is no cost. So we will try to encourage our customers to this kind of thing, so your cost reduction will be achieved. It's the small things.
Yeah, but cumulatively it will have a lot of impact. So that's also making your own organization far more efficient. Am I right? And that cost gets translated and passed on to your customers.
Yes.
Okay. So Kamlesh, do you see cost being a major factor in your decisions for coal, for example? What is the proportion of logistics cost in coal, for example? And what are the factors that would make you want to think that you need to optimize costs in logistics?
For us, most of the volume is on international tariff basis. So basically it's a supply-demand scenario. Nobody can control it. Miners cannot control it, so we have to live with it. And it's not, it keeps going up and down, but then it's, Indonesia, 100% people are saving FOB basis, so not much affected by it. It is going to the north.
So you're saying cost of logistics doesn't really impact you at all?
We have cost of trucking and barging, but that's a small part. It's very small percent, maybe 20% of the total cost, and that's not changing much.
So what would you expect from the logistics sector to improve that will make an impact for you? Is it time? What are the factors that you would look at when you are choosing your logistics partners and solutions?
I think the logistics sector will be getting affected mostly because of the climate change issues that are coming up and putting a lot of restrictions on these ships for pollution. I think EU has already started checking these pollution levels for shipments happening in their area. So one of the issues that will, we do not know how it will affect, but it is gradually being seen that ships are to be discarded because of pollution level they are having. And another thing is, which can actually not logistics, but the whole industry that will be affected is because of renewables, focus on renewables, alternative source of power that is coming. Because unavoidable, we have to do something about it because we cannot continue burning coal forever. But then again, so far whatever solutions we have, like renewables, wind or solar, again is based on lithium. So lithium is again a mining thing, again destroying the same which coal brings. So going forward, we still have to know India and Indonesia both are sitting on more than 100 years of reserves, and coal is still being favorable for both of them in terms of cost. So affordable electricity. It's not only electricity, but it should be affordable to general people. So renewable, while the focus is correct, and we have to progress more on renewables, but that coal will continue to play a major role in both the countries.
Okay, thank you. So Abhilasha, we talked a bit about cost and already, but the question I wanted to ask you was that do you see cost being any other aspects of cost that is going to change your business model here? For example, we talked a little bit about how you have done more in-house distribution, for example. That's also driven by factors like cost, or is it basically more reliability? So just to share a little bit of your thoughts on that.
Sure. So Indonesia, most foreign companies enter through a distribution route. That's what I've seen, and that's what I've experienced in the past as well. Largely because it is very formidable entry barrier to have to set up distribution across so many different islands, across so many different points of economic interest that is there. So that is the fastest route to entry. But like you said, it is as you scale up, it often turns out to be not either the most cost-effective way of operating or not more the service efficient way of operating. So it has been like for us, the journey has been that as we progressed, and especially as certain centers started dominating from a business point of view, it made logical sense to move from a distributor model to set up our own distribution in manageable areas like Java Database, like Surabaya, like I was telling you. So the decision comes, like I said, 2 points, but the service being a slightly larger component of our decision making than just cost, because it gives you control. You know how frequently you can service the customer. Your stock is more manageable, so we can ensure 100% assured inventory servicing. We can ensure that even the reverse logistics, like suppose there are any metal returns, etc., get handled better. Collections and monetary transactions both ways are faster. So it does give us a greater access and control over the business. So that is a bigger point of decision making. And like I was telling you, the other slight bit of lacuna that I would say that exists in the market is that there are not too many pan-Indonesian distributors of scale and size today. Distribution still happens to be a slightly, low involvement industry, or it's not become as standardized as it has in a lot of other countries. Because of that, you're dealing with people of different scale and sizes. That also increases the complexity as well as the reliability that you would want in a business partner.
Okay, great. So we're going to go into the audience now, and if anybody has any questions, you may put up your hand. We have a microphone available here for the audience.